Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into something really cool.
I am.
Today, we're going to be looking at AI and electric vehicles.
Two huge things happening right now.
Separately, they're already pretty amazing, but when you put them together, that's where it gets really interesting.
It's like a whole new level of innovation and change. You know?
Absolutely. And to help us unpack all of this, we've got a fantastic article here, Texto Pagado.
It does a great job of kind of laying out all the different ways AI is transforming electric cars.
Yeah, it really does. We're going to be talking about self-driving cars, batteries that could last 1 million kilometers.
Wow.
And even cars that can, personalize themselves to you.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is. So whether you're a tech enthusiast or an EV owner or just curious about the future,
this is for you.
This deep dive is going to give you a good look at what's happening and why it matters.
I think a good place to start is with self-driving cars.
Yeah, that's definitely what everyone's talking about.
Autonomous driving, imagine getting in your car and it just drives itself.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it actually learns and gets better over time.
Like a student driver who actually gets better with practice.
Exactly. And that's actually what companies like Tesla are working towards with their full self-driving systems.
Right. Those systems are built on these things called neural networks.
Yeah, basically algorithms that kind of mimic how the human brain learns.
They process data from cameras and radar sensors, all that.
They figure out what to do on the road just like a human would.
But here's the thing. These AI systems, they're always learning. Every mile they drive, every situation they encounter, it makes them smarter.
And more capable. They're constantly improving. It's crazy.
And it's not just Tesla, right?
Oh, no, not at all. You've got Waymo, Cruise, even Apple's in the game now.
Everyone wants a piece of this self-driving pie.
And you can see why?
For sure. I mean, Texto Pagado talks about a future with fewer accidents, way less traffic, and cities that are designed around, efficient automated transportation.
It paints a pretty compelling picture, but it also makes you think.
About?
Are we really ready to, fully hand over control to AI?
To trust it with our lives on the road.
Exactly. What happens when something unexpected comes up, something the AI hasn't been trained for?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, as cool as self-driving cars sound, we can't ignore the risks.
Definitely not.
And speaking of risks, there's the whole issue of who's responsible when something goes wrong.
Liability, yeah. That's a big one. If there's an accident, who's to blame?
Is it the person in the car, the company that made the car, the people who wrote the software?
That's a tough question. Our laws weren't really designed for this.
Right, they were written for human drivers, not AI systems that make their own decisions.
It's a whole new legal and ethical landscape that we're just starting to figure out.
For sure. But let's shift gears a bit.
Okay, sure.
Let's talk about another area where AI is making a big difference, and that's battery tech.
Right, the heart of any EV.
You know one of the biggest things that holds people back from getting an electric car?
Range anxiety.
Exactly, that fear of running out of charge before you get where you're going.
It's a valid concern, but AI is helping to tackle this.
In what ways?
Well, there are sophisticated algorithms that can actually analyze your driving patterns, optimize energy consumption in real time.
Oh, wow.
And even predict how much range you'll need for a specific trip.
So it's like having a super smart co-pilot who's making sure you get the most out of your battery.
Exactly. And not just managing existing tech, companies like Tesla and Rivian are using AI to develop totally new battery designs.
Designs that could significantly increase, how much charge they hold and how long they last.
Right, exactly.
And this is where it gets crazy, right? Texto Pagado mentions that experts are predicting AI could lead to batteries that last over 1 million kilometers.
1 million kilometers. Can you imagine never having to replace your car battery again?
That would be incredible. It would completely change the way we think about owning a car.
Absolutely. It would make EVs even more appealing, and it could even lead to new business models.
Like what?
Battery leasing or subscription services. Think about that.
Wow. It's amazing to think about. I mean, if you had a battery that lasted that long, would you even need to own a car anymore?
That's a good question. It's possible we'll see transportation become more of a service than, owning a product.
That's a fascinating idea.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to how AI is shaping the future of transportation.
Totally. It's not just about the cars themselves. It's about rethinking the whole system.
Well, let's stick with the cars for now.
Okay.
We've got self-driving capabilities, super-powered batteries. What else is AI doing for electric cars?
Well, believe it or not, it's also changing how they're designed and built.
Really?
Yeah, down to the individual features and even what you prefer in a car.
How's that work?
AI algorithms can analyze mountains of data, everything from customer feedback to market trends, even engineering specifications, to predict what people really want.
So manufacturers can basically use AI to make cars that are tailor-made for different people.
Exactly. It's a more personalized approach instead of just a one-size-fits-all car.
That's really cool.
Yeah, some EVs on the market are already doing this, letting you tweak the car's performance.
To match your driving style, you mean?
Yeah, like adjust the acceleration, how sensitive the steering is, even the suspension.
So you can really make the car your own.
Exactly. And that highlights how AI isn't just about the tech itself, it's about using it to create a better experience for the driver.
A more personalized, tailored experience.
Yes. It's about making technology work for us, not the other way around. But with all these advancements and this rush to innovate, it makes you wonder about the competition, right?
Yeah, for a long time, Tesla seemed to be leading the pack in EVs. But our article, Texto Pagado, suggests that's changing.
Oh, absolutely. Tesla's had a huge head start, but the EV market's getting crowded, and many of these new players are bringing their own AI game.
It's like watching a whole new industry unfold in real time.
I know, it's so exciting. And what's interesting is that each company seems to be taking a slightly different approach to how they use AI.
So, lots of different ways to skin a cat, so to speak.
Who would say that?
Well, let's take a break here and come back in part 2 to explore some of those new players and dive a little deeper into the ethical challenges this tech brings up.
Sounds good to me. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how AI is revolutionizing everything from batteries to personalized car design.
Yeah, and we were about to dive into some of the new players who are entering the EV market, shaking things up a bit.
Yeah, Tesla's been leading the charge for a while, but Texto Pagado highlights a couple of companies, Lucid Motors and NIO, who are using AI in some pretty interesting ways.
Let's start with Lucid. What's their story?
Well, they're going after the luxury EV market, focusing on cars with, incredible performance and range.
Okay, so the high-end luxury experience.
Exactly. But what's cool is how they're using AI, not just for self-driving, but to optimize, everything about the car's performance.
Everything.
Yeah, from how the air flows over the car, the aerodynamics, to how it manages energy.
So AI is working behind the scenes to make the car, as efficient and luxurious as possible.
Exactly. It's not just about getting you from A to B. It's about doing it in style and with, maximum efficiency.
So Lucid is all about luxury and performance. What about NIO? What makes them stand out?
NIO's tackling a really practical issue for EV owners.
Which is?
Charging infrastructure.
Ah, yes, the availability of charging stations. That's a big one.
Right. They've developed this system where you can swap out your completed battery for a fully charged one at these special stations.
Wait, so instead of plugging in and waiting for your car to charge,
you just swap the whole battery out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to picture this. You pull up to a station, your old battery gets switched out for a fresh one, and you're good to go.
Yep, all in just a few minutes.
And where does AI come into play?
AI manages the entire battery swapping network. It predicts battery demand, routes cars to the nearest station.
Wow.
And even makes sure each station has enough charged batteries ready to go.
That's impressive. They're really addressing range anxiety in a whole new way.
They are. But as amazing as all this AI stuff is, Texto Pagado also brings up some ethical considerations, things we really need to think about.
Yeah, that's important. We can't just ignore the potential downsides.
Right. One of the biggest concerns with self-driving cars, for example, is who's liable if there's an accident.
Yeah, if the AI makes a mistake and causes a crash, who takes the blame? The company that built the car, the software developer, the person who's technically not even driving.
It's a really tricky question, and our legal systems are still trying to catch up.
It feels like the technology is way ahead of the rules and regulations.
It definitely is. And it's not just about accidents either. What about hacking? Could someone take control of a self-driving car remotely?
That's a scary thought. And then there's the whole issue of data privacy, right?
Oh yeah, that's huge. These AI systems are constantly collecting data about your driving, your location, maybe even your conversations inside the car.
So how do we make sure the data is used responsibly and our privacy is protected?
That's a question a lot of people are asking, and it's something we need to address head on. But, despite these challenges, Texto Pagado also paints a picture of a future where AI and EVs could create something really amazing. Smart cities.
Smart cities. Okay, I'm intrigued. What does that even look like?
Well, imagine a city where traffic flows smoothly, parking is a breeze, and getting around is easy and efficient.
Sounds like a dream come true for anyone who's ever been stuck in rush hour traffic.
Right. And it's all made possible by connecting everything together. The cars, traffic lights, parking garages, even pedestrian crossings, they all communicate with each other.
So it's like having this giant brain overseeing the entire city's transportation system.
Exactly. AI algorithms are constantly analyzing data to, keep things moving smoothly. They predict congestion, optimize traffic flow, and even personalize your travel experience.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. But creating a smart city from scratch seems like a massive undertaking.
It definitely is, but lots of cities around the world are already taking steps in this direction. They're investing in smart traffic systems, experimenting with autonomous public transportation, and encouraging people to switch to electric vehicles. It's happening.
It's encouraging to hear that, and it feels like AI and EVs are playing a key role in making this vision a reality.
They absolutely are. And speaking of new ways to think about transportation, Texto Pagado also touched on this idea called mobility as a service, or MaaS.
I haven't heard of that. What is it?
It's basically a shift from owning a car to subscribing to a service that gives you access to all sorts of transportation options.
So instead of owning a car, you could have access to self-driving cars, bikes, scooters, public transit.
All of that, yeah. And it's all managed through one app on your phone.
So you could summon a self-driving car when you need it, hop on an e-bike for a quick trip, or take the train for a longer commute.
Exactly. And AI is behind it all, analyzing your travel patterns and preferences to suggest the best option for you at any given moment.
That sounds incredibly convenient, especially if you live in a city where owning a car can be a pain.
Right. But of course, there are concerns about data privacy. Who has access to all that information about your movements and travel habits?
Yeah, that's a valid point. It's a trade-off, convenience for privacy, and it's something we need to be mindful of.
Absolutely. Technology should be used to empower us, not exploit us. As we move forward with all these innovations in AI and EVs, we can't forget about the ethical implications.
Well said. We've covered a lot in this section, from new competitors to smart cities, and even this idea of MaaS.
It's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is. But before we get too carried away, I think it's time to take a step back and reflect on what we've learned.
Okay, good idea. Let's consider what all of this means for the long term, both the exciting possibilities and the potential challenges.
It's amazing to think about how all of this AI and electric vehicles goes way beyond just, changing the cars themselves.
Yeah, it's about transforming whole cities, like how we even think about transportation.
Exactly. Texto Pagado touches on that, talking about how this could lead to a future where transportation is cleaner and more efficient.
And more accessible for everyone, too.
Right, we're at the beginning of a whole new era of mobility.
A really exciting one. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
On what?
What do you think the long-term implications of this revolution are going to be? Where are we headed, and what are some of the bumps in the road we might hit along the way?
Well, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement, right?
Yeah.
Imagine a world with no traffic jams, self-driving EVs zipping around these futuristic cities.
Sounds pretty utopian, but there are definitely challenges we need to figure out before we get there.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, first off, infrastructure. Think about it. To really make all this AI and EV stuff work, we need a massive charging network. Millions of electric vehicles.
Right.
And it can't just be any network. It has to be reliable.
To handle all those cars charging up.
Exactly. And we need super robust communication networks so cars can talk to each other and to the city infrastructure.
To avoid accidents, I imagine.
Exactly. And our traffic management systems, they need a serious upgrade.
So it's not just about making better cars, it's about creating a whole system to support them.
It's a huge undertaking, for sure. And then there's the cost factor.
Yeah, electric vehicles are still pretty expensive compared to gas-powered cars.
And all the fancy AI features that adds to the cost.
So if we really want this technology to change things, it can't just be for the wealthy.
It has to be accessible to everyone.
Which means
finding ways to make EVs and AI more affordable. Things like government incentives could help.
Or breakthroughs in technology that lower the cost of production.
Absolutely. And maybe even new ways of paying for cars.
Like those battery leasing programs we talked about earlier.
Exactly, things like that.
Interesting. So we've got the practical stuff to figure out, but Texto Pagado also mentions some bigger societal questions that come up.
Oh, for sure. This tech is going to have a ripple effect on everything.
One thing the article brings up is the potential for job losses in the transportation sector.
Yeah, with self-driving vehicles, there's a chance a lot of jobs could be automated.
Truck drivers, taxi drivers, delivery drivers.
All sorts of jobs that might not exist in the future.
So it's not just about embracing the technology, it's about preparing for the impact it'll have on people's lives.
Right, exactly. We need to be thinking now about how to support those workers, maybe help them transition into new careers.
So everyone benefits from this transition, not just a select few.
I think that's really important. And, beyond the economics, there are also these, cultural questions we need to think about.
Like what?
Well, how will autonomous vehicles change our relationship with cars?
Right. Cars are more than just a way to get around for a lot of people.
Exactly. They represent freedom, adventure.
Will those feelings disappear in a world of self-driving cars?
It's hard to say. Maybe we'll see a shift away from car ownership altogether.
Back to relying on public transit, maybe.
Possibly. Or maybe people will rediscover the joys of walking and biking once they don't have to drive.
Fascinating. It'll be interesting to see how these cultural perceptions evolve alongside the technology.
It's like we're standing on the edge of something brand new, full of possibilities, but also some unknowns.
A new frontier, like you said earlier.
And like any frontier, there will be challenges and risks along the way.
But also amazing opportunities for progress.
We just need to approach it all carefully, ethically, and with a clear idea of the kind of future we want to create.
Well said. This has been a really thought-provoking deep dive,
Yeah, it has.
We've gone from the nuts and bolts of AI and EVs to these broader questions about society and the future.
It's clear that we're at this crucial point.
And the decisions we make now are going to have a huge impact.
On the future of transportation and really on the world as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The future is full of potential, both exciting and a little bit daunting. It's up to all of us to shape that future in a responsible way.
To make it a better world for everyone.
And to our listeners, we leave you with this. The future of transportation is in our hands. Let's embrace the possibilities, be mindful of the challenges, and together work towards a future where mobility is sustainable and accessible for everyone. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep imagining what's possible.